Nope, one more try. In this video, I tear down the rest of the Mustang. I gut a lot of the front of it and interior of it while rocking a vacation beard and listening to music that YouTube won't let me share. I know I teased that it was gonna be an installation of the suspension, but we weren't there yet. By the end of it, you'll see I get to a point where the car is ready to be under a tarp and listed on Marketplace 8 years from now. It's the part of the project where you kind of get overwhelmed. The dash is out, wiring's out, front end's out, it's just a shell, and it's ready for some major overhaul. So I hope you enjoy. Alright, so I've got a couple of stripped bolts here. They're not necessarily stripped, but they've just rusted under the battery. And they used to be 1/2 inch, but now it's just not the right clearance. And I've got this awesome set of grip-right tools that I bought years ago that I've been waiting for the right time to use. They've got little teeth in them that allow you to turn out something that's stuck. Just used it for the first time, and there's the guts. So I would not recommend these. Not really super sockets, just sockets. Plan B is I'm probably going to hammer on a maybe 12mm since it's a 1/2 inch and try to get something that will fit that. If not, we'll just grind those off. This battery's not going to stay in the front anyways. I'll probably end up relocating this to the trunk. We'll see what happens, but it'll just clean up the front a little bit by switching that over to the trunk. Learning a lot of new things with this project. One of the things I learned is magnets can keep kids busy for a very long time. They stick to bolts, they stick to fenders, they stick to tools, and they stick to each other from time to time, which creates a little bit of drama. But after getting that sorted out, was able to get the rest of the steering down. This is just a bunch of cotter pins, some tie rod ends that some of them need a little hammer encouragement to come free. And once it was out, was able to drop the unit and set it aside as one piece. Everything that I can keep together, I'm trying to keep together because I'd like to sell it. Somebody may be able to use it. And then the next part is just getting this gearbox out and tying up some of the odds and ends. I've pulled the wheel off, and now we can finally get that shock out that Maddie has been wanting out all week. So my initial plan was to jack it up some and turn the shock to get the top free, but there's just not enough weight in the car right now for that to work. Even with me standing on it, it wasn't going to cut it. So the next step is pulling this with a strut compressor. Uh-oh. So this is kind of a tricky part. We'll go ahead and switch over to this side. We'll do a little on each side, and we're going to compress this spring right here. So go ahead and start rotating it.
But it's...
Yep, rotate it and it'll find its home. Come all the way back towards me. There you go. And what we're doing is we're just compressing the spring a little bit, just enough so that we can slide it out. Sometimes these can be pretty dangerous if it's one that doesn't have the safety locks, which once we start putting this under pressure, we'll put some safety locks on it. But we're gonna do just a ½ an inch or so. We got plenty of travel on this. I've actually cut these coil springs down before, and that let us have a lower ride profile. It shouldn't take much because of that. I think I cut a full 2 coils out of these, so they're already short to begin with. I probably could have got away with just cutting them with the die grinder. A lot of guys will use a cutoff wheel, just cut the middle and not have to do this. But I intend to sell all of these parts, and it'll be easier to sell them if they're all intact. So we're just gonna go back and forth. You ready to switch over, Maddie? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so wiggle it and see if you can get it to line up on this one. Keep rotating it. So rotate it until it drops in. No, that way. Keep going that way. Yep, keep going a little farther. There it is. All right, you got it. All right, now keep going back and forth. And we're just gonna squeeze it down. Oh. So what you may have to do is do what I'm doing here and kind of hold pressure up on it and run it back and forth. Just don't pinch your fingers, okay? And we need to get you little gloves.
Yeah.
At least this is a clean part. Alright, so I'm almost there with a little bit of help from Madison. I was able to get the shock and the spring out. I got the sway bar disconnected, and in the front here I think there's one more bolt I need to get out. And it's not really a bolt, it's more of a nut that goes on the end of this rod here. Once that's out, I can disconnect this lower control arm, and I think this whole spindle will drop out. The lower control arm will come out with that mount. Oh, and I'll get a little squirrely with the camera. I'll probably leave all the upper control arm with it attached. There's 2 bolts on the inside that should connect it. Looking at this, and Mustang guys will know, I didn't remove any lower bolts here. So there was nothing on the top, nothing on the 2 bottoms. The only thing that was holding this bracket in were these 2 bolts that go through to that upper control arm. I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be, but I've got a lot of miles on it with just those 2 bolts in it, so maybe it is, maybe it's not, but if not, maybe I just got a little bit lucky. Alright, so this is a 1-inch bolt. You've probably seen me using silver sockets a lot on my impact, and I know that this makes a lot of guys' eyes twitch. I've had good luck with it over the years. I kind of look at what I'm doing with it. If it's a Craftsman and it's not a ton of torque, if I break it, worst comes to worst, I replace it for free. I do have some cheap other impact sockets that I've purchased online. Pretty much anytime I go bigger than 7/8, then I'm forced to break into the bottom of the box and get into the impact sockets. Or if it's something where I think that I'm gonna break one of the silver sockets, I'll go ahead and switch over. I've been using this Milwaukee cordless, fuel-powered impact for quite a while. Ever since I bought this, I haven't touched my Ingersoll Rand. I have a pneumatic one over here, but the poor thing has just been chilling out ever since I got the electric one. She says no. Alright, so while we're doing no-nos, I'm gonna go ahead and do another one. I've got my trusty Craftsman ratchet here, and my breaker bar that was actually designed for this ratchet. I've had this ratchet a long time. It's seen a lot of abuse. It keeps coming back for more. Today is is not its day. Still got it. So the strut rod came out without too much fight. I didn't want to do too much time on the video with it, but basically impacted it off. We took out the upper control arm bolts here, and then that cammed lower control arm bolt. And once that's free, there was nothing else holding this whole unit in. So the spindle came out. I say nothing else, but there's always a brake line, right? You always miss a brake line. And with that off, I was able to get this up and out of the way. All right, so we're making progress. We've got one side out. I've still got to take the brake lines out on it. I think I'm going to leave the master cylinder for now. We'll see here in a second, but I'm definitely going to have to disconnect these lines. I have a line lock hidden on this in the back, but for now what I think I'm going to do is disconnect it right here at the master cylinder and pull this distribution block out. I'm going to rerun all these lines because this shock tower won't be here soon. Once I cut this out, all this is going to have to come through and probably hide on the inside of this panel. To stop this from leaking everywhere, a little while back, I purchased these little block-off nuts, which have come in handy a ton over the years. It lets you pull the lines off and plug it without bleeding or trying to use a clamp or bending lines over. It's just a better way to do it, and they're cheap. It's worth it. And then I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do with all of this wiring. I believe that I'm gonna take the factory harness out and go ahead and rewire it. It's just a big undertaking that I haven't committed to yet. We'll see though once I get some of this other stuff out, and I'll make that decision. Maybe I'll disconnect it for now, and then a little bit later I can decide if I'm gonna reuse the factory wiring or go ahead and switch it out with something a little more modern that I know is correct. But I had a dumb moment here. I thought I'd share it. Trying to get this wiring harness out, it looks like a plug, right? And after prying on it for a second, it started to crack. I realized that this is mounted on the inside, so if you're trying to get that out, the best way to get that, or the only way to get that out, other than destroying it, is from the bottom. On the fuse panel, there's actually a little bolt right there, and when that bolt comes out for the fuse panel, like magic, that harness comes out nice and easy. Jumping around a little bit, but it's probably a good time to start pulling the fuel system out. I've got to take the gas tank out before I start cutting anything. I was going to start pulling this other side, but I promised Madison I'd wait for her. So we got one side off. While the car is up in the air, I'm dripping some brake fluid, I can see some of the old repairs that people have done over the years. This is a old steering bracket that somebody mounted, and it's not their most awesome job. It looks like they stick welded it poorly. And there's a number of repairs like that that are going to get cut off and repaired. Some of it is me as well. I mean, I'm not without guilt in this. When I mounted this, I did this in a storage unit and blindly put this bracket up there and tacked it because I had no lift and just a jack and not a lot of access. So that's going to come out too, but that's my steering bracket. Hey, Maddie.
Dad, I found this on the floor. Do you think you can put water in this and put the flour in it?
That's for a battery, but yeah, we might be able to put water in it and then put flour in it. So getting the fuel line out is going to mean just taking some of the screws out. And a lot of these brake line mounts and fuel line mounts are self-tappers, which are convenient, but the other side has a sharp end, so that'll get solved as well. When I run the line, I'll probably use stainless again. That's held up really well in this saltwater environment, being on the coast. And I lucked out in the back here. The tank does have a drain plug. I'll start there and see if I can position this to where I can drain that out. While we're in here though, some of the old brake system, I do have a line lock hiding. There she is, up on the top. I don't know if the camera shows it, but that'll go back in. That'll be a part of the plan so I can isolate this back end and really control when I'm doing burnouts how much brake pressure applies to just the front. When it comes to this old stainless, most of the tubing that is in decent condition can be saved, and they make a tool that's a roller that will actually straighten this stuff out. Some of it's going to need to be manipulated so it's somewhat straight before to go in the roller, and other parts of it, like this one here, are probably just too far gone, unless I could really hammer this out, but at that point there's going to be dents in it. If this wasn't stainless, I probably wouldn't try to reuse it. But since we've got these nice, hard, durable stainless pieces and they're large, to save a little money, I'll go ahead and run it through the roller. So this is the tubing roller, and the way it works, it just drops into your vise and gets locked down. And you can adjust the tension on it, and it straightens it out. So you can see this one's pretty wonky to start. I'll make a couple of passes through, and each time kind of tighten it up a little bit and work it through on a different angle. All right, now that it's been through a couple of times, this is what you're left with. And you can kind of see it here. It's a nice straight bar, and if we look down it, which is hard to see here, we're back straight again. For whatever reason, this strut rod had made up its mind that it was going to fight me the entire way. I tried the ratchet on it, but it was definitely going to break it, and the impact had too much vibration, so it couldn't do its job effectively. I ended up having to use a couple of wrenches, just put the boxed end inside of the open end, just the old-fashioned leverage technique, and back and forth, and eventually it decided to come out. If you're wondering about the webbing, I just did that to pull the control arm up far enough so that I could take some stress off of that nut. And just like that, all of the suspension is out of the front of the car. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't completely overwhelmed right now. I think this happens in every project. Cutting the car up's not terrifying for me. The terrifying part is this. I've had problems in the past with the switches. The blinker cube, as you can see, has been replaced. There's a lot of open circuits. The corrosion for the dash has given me problems in the past. And a few years ago in Daytona, we kept going through these light switches. They were burning up. There's a short somewhere in the system, and we kept losing our headlights because of the dimmer switch, which was pretty terrifying on the A1A at nighttime in Daytona. I pulled all of the wiring out. I'm gonna go ahead and just bite the bullet. It's time to do it right and put a whole new harness. I'll hardwire everything. I've never pulled the lower unit out on one of these before, and that was an experience also. I've tried to keep the bolts where they go so I can put it back together where it belongs. It's certainly gonna be a lot easier to get the heater box out now. I can see everything. Most of this stuff, I mean, I don't know if the camera shows it, but it's so rusted and outdated. It needs replaced. While I'm at it, it's probably time. You're wondering probably why I haven't pulled the seats out yet. Well, it made a nice little area to work while I pulled the column out. I'm gonna jump back to the time lapse, pulling the heater box out, and that'll probably wrap it up for this video. It'll get us pretty close, ready to do the suspension work in the front that we need to do. Well, that's pretty much going to wrap this video up. Next video, I'll jump into some of the metal work, and I'll see you when we start cutting the front of the car out.